This video was sponsored by Hello, my ruthless yet silly friends. I am Arlo, and today we're talking about Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. I've been meaning to play a Yakuza / Like a Dragon game for ages now. I've heard nothing but amazing things about the series' storytelling, the content, the humor, everything. It's always sounded like a really great time, and I've had loads of people practically begging me to give it a shot. So when Sega and RGG Studio approached me to play and give my impressions of their latest release, I practically jumped out of my seat at the opportunity. First, a quick reminder that the game is available right now on Nintendo Switch 2. Hit the link in the description to learn more, and now I will give you my thoughts. Here we go. Whoosh. I've always known that this series was known for its silliness and over-the-top action, but I did not expect everything to blend so seamlessly. A lot of games will wear their tone on their sleeve, you know, whether they're serious or silly or campy or whatever. But Yakuza 0 is whatever it wants to be at any given moment. It's a gritty, tragic crime drama with one breath and a campy action movie with the next. It's got this effortless spirit about it. Like, it's completely unabashed in its goals, and because of this, it comes across as really genuine. It gives the game this forward momentum. Like, you really just never know what's gonna happen next. On the more serious side, the storytelling is everything people have said and more. I'm really shocked here. The game introduces characters and then wastes no time developing them, deepening them, throwing in all these curveballs that make you kind of rethink what you know. One thing the game does well overall is starting really simple and then expanding from there, and that absolutely is true of the story. A simple premise here has a way of blowing up into something bigger in no time flat. There's always more to discover, more to uncover, always another plot thread to follow, another character to keep tabs on. What starts as a relatively simple story grows in complexity, and it doesn't take long to become genuinely intriguing. I myself am not even a fan of crime dramas on the whole. Like, it's really not generally my thing, and yet I was immediately sucked right into this story. There's an enormous amount of dialogue and cutscenes, and considering how much there is, I am amazed by how they pulled it off. It's so well animated. Like, there's loads and loads of mocap. The characters are always interacting with props, like they're always doing these unique animations fit to the scene. Like, they clearly put so much work into this department, and similarly in the voice acting part of it. A huge amount of the game is fully voiced, and actually this new director's cut has got an all-new English dub on top of like 25 minutes of extra cutscenes. So you got a whole new dub, and the acting is really good. Like, there's loads of recognizable voices in there. They really went all out. And all the effort put into delivering the story really elevates the entire experience, really makes me feel for all these characters and all these plot threads. And I really appreciate how often it takes its time, too. You know, obviously you've got your more like fast-paced sequences, but then some scenes make sure to keep the pacing very deliberate, and yeah, it really is easy to forget sometimes that I am playing a video game and not watching a show. See, but then you'll watch this super serious, very deliberately paced scene, and then you'll step outside and beat a guy up with a bicycle. Like, without skipping a beat, you will be launched into these just wacky scenarios. You're this super serious Yakuza guy, super honorable. You put your heart into everything that you do. And I mean everything that you do. There's all these like side activities you can do. You can do karaoke, you can do like little slot car races, and it never stops being funny how seriously the character takes them. It's this constant tonal whiplash that really takes you off guard. And there are plenty of games out there that feature over-the-top action and violence and all that, but two things strike me about it here. One is how playful it is. More than anything, it feels like it emulates old kung fu movies. In particular, it reminds me of watching Jackie Chan movies as a kid, where the fighting is like one big bit. You know, it's all these visual gags, it's incorporating ridiculous props into the fighting. And then second, I just love how simultaneously gruesome and tame the game is. You absolutely tear these people apart. Like, you break every bone in their bodies The feedback, the sound effects. It sounds like every single hit is the killing blow. And then at the end of the fight, everyone dusts themselves off and slinks away with their tails between their legs. It's yet another thing that never stops being funny. Like, you fight every single person as violently as possible. You're clearly trying to gruesomely kill every single one. But hey, it's all just hooligans getting into scrapes. No big deal. Break one guy's neck multiple times in one fight. It's fine. Speaking of combat, this is another case where things start out super simple. Light attack, heavy attack, dodge. Okay, this is pretty basic. But then you learn a new move, and then another, and another, and another. It feels like you can barely take a step without another cool idea being introduced. Eventually, you unlock multiple fighting styles, each with their own moves and strengths and strategies. You've got a heat gauge that fills up as you fight, and you can use that to do all these crazy special moves. And when you really start to get it down, when you can switch between the styles on the fly and use your heat moves and utilize environmental objects, it feels awesome. It's just simple enough for me to keep a firm grasp on, and never really feel overwhelmed. But then it matures from there. It gets more and more flexible and satisfying all the time. So mechanically, it's fun, but then that feedback I was talking about, it enhances it further, just makes it that much more satisfying to engage with. All the ridiculous special moves you can do. Like, I'm just delighted every time I find a new one. Every time some object or even inventory item enables yet another crazy takedown. It somehow never loses its charm. And in addition to that lovely bone-crunching feel, fighting guys also nets you cash. I love a game where everything I do gets me something. RPGs where every enemy gives you at least some amount of XP, Well, here, everything runs on money. You don't get money from every single hit you land, but it feels pretty close. Like, it's just pouring out of people as you wail on them. And this is naturally humongously satisfying, both mechanically and aesthetically. Random groups will just pick fights with you on the street, and it's really hard not to fight every single person who challenges me because the fights are just so much fun, and it feels so great to always be earning. And I love how money is really the only currency here. You use it for buying essentially anything you need to buy, consumables and equipable gear and all that stuff. But then it's also your XP as well. You've got upgrade trees for every fighting style. You're always unlocking new moves and passive abilities and buffing your stats. Between everything, it's like you're constantly getting stronger, just always better and better at fighting. And it's crazy because I feel like great combat and a solid progression system mixed with a compelling story would be enough to carry a game like this. But Yakuza 0 absolutely heaps on the extra content. It's essentially an open world game, but it's not huge. You run around these city chunks, so it's not like this mega wide open sandbox, but that's actually a huge plus because the world is just so dense. There's so much to do within this relatively small space, and you don't waste time traveling these vast distances. There's no fluff. Everywhere you go, you're just tripping over side quests. You can help people out with all sorts of problems. Oftentimes, they're absolutely ridiculous. And these are particularly fun because you'll usually have to make decisions about what to say or do and see how that affects things. So there's almost kind of a puzzly, riddly kind of element. Each side quest really is its own little vignette, its own little story. And so far, each one has been absolutely worth doing. And there are always more and more and more of them. There are even characters around town who you can develop relationships with as you play, which unlocks more and more stories. It is almost overwhelming, but in the best way. There's just so much to do at any given time. And that's to say nothing of the mini-games. All over town, you'll find these mini-games. And mini-games, nothing new, right? But no, it is shocking how good these are. These aren't throwaway modes. Each one is its own very unique experience. They're all well-designed and polished. They usually offer multiple different modes within the modes. Like, I don't think there's a single minigame here you couldn't easily chew up hours of time on. Like, even all alone, the minigames offer a weird amount of content. Then eventually you open up a whole real estate side thing where you're making business money on top of everything else. Always more to do, always more. And no, I'm telling you, right when I think I have my work cut out for me, this whole city district with all this stuff to do, when I'm already really invested in the game, you know what happens? A new chapter starts, starring a totally new character. He's immediately just as interesting, if not more so. His story immediately captivates me. I mean, if anything, this is where the storytelling kind of bumps up another notch, and this really starts to feel like a good TV show. And he's in his own whole entire city district with its own side quests. He's got his own unique fighting styles. There's this whole thing with treasure hunting and crafting weapons I barely even had time to touch. Like, I literally had no idea this was a thing at all, and now essentially a whole second game has opened up for me. And yet, despite the sheer volume of content, none of it feels too superfluous. The story and the characters are always so interesting that I want to engage with all of it. I want to do everything. I mean, it's a nice problem to have, really. I mean, it's overwhelming, but like in a good way. It's like a buffet where everything looks so good, you kind of panic because you don't know how you're going to try it all. Moving on, visually the game looks great. There are plenty of times you're looking at more stylish and kind of cartoonish elements, you know, especially during combat and whatnot. But the world itself has a very grounded feel. I have personally never been to Japan in 1988, but it all feels so authentic, like a real time capsule, down to the clothes and the technology and everything. It feels like it gives real insight into how it was to live in such a time and place, the prevailing cultural mindsets, the day-to-day workings. And it all looks nice and sharp running on Switch 2, whether you're playing docked or handheld. Frame rate, always smooth. I have seen nothing but perfect performance so far. And if you want to talk about another benefit of this director's cut, they've added a new mode called Red Light Raid, which is essentially an arcade mode. You fight through increasing waves of enemies and bosses, and then a final boss at the very end. You can play alone, with CPUs, or with friends or randos online. There are loads and loads of characters from the game to choose from. You earn money to upgrade them. You can fight through all these different missions. The whole thing is a really great chance to just kind of jump in and do some fighting whenever you get the itch, you know? And it is yet another thing to engage with on top of everything else. Honestly, I've barely had the time to even put a dent in this mode yet, but I've had a lot of fun with it so far. It's just this non-stop brawl fest. It's like the regular game in fast forward. I'll bet it would be a really, really good time with a bunch of friends. So yeah, suffice it to say, I have been really enjoying Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. There are a lot of third-party games that launched on the Switch 2, but this one really does stand out in terms of content. The original game was really highly regarded, and now this version seems to perfect it further. The extra cutscenes, a really high-quality English dub, a whole extra mode. I have never touched a Yakuza game before. I knew next to nothing about the series, and yet this one grabbed me immediately. And it's basically an origin story for these characters. It's set years before the events of the rest of the series, so it's a perfect starting point. Between the quality of the storytelling, the volume of content, and the crunchy combat, I really can't recommend it enough. I still have a lot of game to go, but so far I am genuinely enjoying the heck out of it. Once again, I remind you that Yakuza 0 Director's Cut is available right now on Nintendo Switch 2. You can find it on the eShop or in stores. Link in the description if you want to learn mores. And thanks once again to Sega and RGG Studio for sponsoring this video. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta go beat up a bunch of guys with a bicycle and then pretend to be a woman's dentist boyfriend so she can impress her overly protective father.